Sam, aka my financial friend. How's it going, bro?
Good, good. I appreciate you having me on. Excited to talk with you for a bit here.
Absolutely. So, look, let's just kick it straight off. For the people who are watching this who may not know who you are, how about you just give them a quick 2, 3 minute introduction to who is Sam and who is my financial friend?
Yeah, so I am someone that went to school, didn't really know what they were doing, didn't know what they wanted to do. I thought I wanted to do pre-med or become a doctor. That didn't really work out because I didn't want to go to graduate school and pay a lot more money. So then I went into the banking world, learned about investing, got very interested in that, and have been focused on it ever since. I started my YouTube channel um, right around the time where I started banking, but I didn't make a dollar off of it for a couple of years. I was just posting because I loved the content. And then, yeah, I've been doing this full time for 4 years now, just looking for opportunities to make more money in the market.
Absolutely. So, well, let's just kind of just dive into that a little bit then. What was it
Mhm.
like? I think a lot of people wonder whenever they see someone in like your position who's had a great deal of success on YouTube and as an investor in general, like what the early days were like. I think it's easy for us to look at someone like you and be like, we're not there's like a difference. People think there's a big difference, but I would say your upcoming was very like similar to mine in many, regards. So, what was it like coming up for you? Where are you from? Kind of what did the earlier days look like for you?
Yeah, so I'm from the Midwest. I've always been really good at focusing on things. So I naturally get like pretty tunnel vision and I focus on like a video game and I'll just play it until I beat it. Or like basketball, I played basketball year round, played no other sports. Um, like worked out multiple times a day just for basketball, even though I didn't end up playing in college. And then like focused really heavily on academics in high school. Had over 4.0 in high school and then like a 3.97 or something pre-med at a Big Ten school. So I've always been like very focused on doing well, but I don't think I was pointed in the right directions to what actually mattered. So like I thought sports and academics were the only things that mattered, and like neither of those really matter at the end of the day for like your quality of life. Um, I think if I had been focused on making money or business or investing or something, that probably would have been better. Because there are obviously a lot of people that are really bright that just don't accelerate in school because they don't care about it. And I almost wish I was one of those people because at the end of the day, I just spent a lot of money thinking that I would be bailed out one day with a high income, which I eventually got to, but kind of a roundabout way because I didn't spend another 7 years in school. So I, like I said, I've always been focused. I've always liked money and I focused on money a lot as a kid. Like I had odd jobs here or there where I was making, $10 an hour. And for me, it was always about like how much I can make per hour. So there's some people that work 40 hours and after that, like if they can make another 30 bucks in 30 minutes, they just won't do it because they're like, I'm done. I put in my 40 hours. But for me, it's always been like, hey, if I can make a little bit more than I would at my day job, then that's great. And I realized after college too that every incremental dollar on top of what I was already making turned into like $100 by the time I retire. So I got tunnel vision on that, and it was almost a problem to the point where I just didn't want to spend any money. And my then girlfriend, now wife, and I both stayed at home and lived at home, so we were able to save a lot of money. But yeah, there's still small decisions like I don't know, getting a beer out instead of drinking a beer at home that I just would have a hard time with, or like flowers on Valentine's Day. And I'd made myself like do that stuff anyways, but I would still like have a bit of a hard time with it. Or like my wife, I don't think I've ever talked about this, but my wife when she graduated, she was given the chance to get like an expensive purse, or they would put money towards her student loans or her parents. And she picked the purse, and that was like difficult for me. And for her, she was like, "Well, knowing you, I'll never have the purse otherwise if I don't take it now." While I was like, "Well, you just picked your purse over like our ability to get out of our parents' basements, basically." So like those types of things were really difficult for me, but I think I'm a little bit more well balanced now, and some of that just comes with success and investing for a long enough time span. Like I think you mellow out a little bit, and it doesn't seem like every decision is like make or break. But yeah,
Sure.
that's kind of my background a little bit more. I guess yeah, I don't really think about high school or anything before that very often. Even college now, I don't really think about. It seems like post YouTube and pre YouTube is all I think about.
Yeah.
And most of it's post YouTube.
So that's actually really interesting. So I would just go ahead and assume that you're millionaire status now.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is that you didn't really start to focus on the like investing and or stocks or crypto or kind of that world that much until you were like around that college area. I know you did the, the odd job here,
Mhm.
you saved up here, but when it comes to like investing, you didn't really start until a little bit later on. And a lot of people think, you got to start at 16 or 18, but it doesn't seem to be the case with you. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I think it would definitely help. And I remember like in civics class, or maybe it was no, it was econ, where like we were told to get on this stock platform and try to make as much money as possible in a semester, and the person that made the most like got some reward. But it's kind of stupid because then you're just like trying to get the riskiest thing, and they don't teach you anything either. I mean, this is a high school teacher, so they don't really probably know that much about it either. But yeah, I didn't focus on it that much. I didn't know about investing. Um, I didn't know about compound interest or anything like that. That's something that I'll be teaching my son, the Bitcoin baby, as I call him on the channel. I'll be teaching him pretty young. But yeah, no, I didn't know about that until the second half of my senior year, because I kind of had a coming to Jesus moment, where like it was the last day before the second semester of my senior year, uh, the last day of break. So I was just about to start like the last semester I would have in college. And I was like, I can't lie to myself anymore. I don't want to do this. Like it had been in the back of my mind, and I had really good, like I had very good grades, like top 0.1% of the class, but I also didn't know if I'd be able to retain the information very well because I just didn't care about it very much. I wasn't very interested in it. So then there's something in the back of my mind saying, well, like you could go for 4 or 7 years and then maybe you don't make it then, and then you're $400,000 in debt, which I probably could have done it, but I just didn't like it. So that's when I was like, okay, if I'm not going to make 200 or $300,000 a year starting out, I needed to know what to do with my money. And I started reading. I think it was Tony Robbins was the first person I read, and he's more of a motivational speaker. But I actually have some of his stuff right here. I was listening to like motivational podcasts or videos from him, and then he came out with a money book, and it was just really simple stuff like compound interest. A lot of the greatest investors in the world he talked to, and they were basically like, "Oh, save your money over time and dollar cost average into the market, and you'll make good returns and be able to retire, and just buy index funds." So I started listening to that, and then I got really into the FIRE movement, the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, which I started listening, no, not watching or listening. I started reading blogs, Mr. Money Mustache, and he was someone that had like a good tech job, but I think the most he ever got paid with him and his wife combined was like 150,000 in a year, and they retired at 29. They were like low spenders, 30, $40,000 a year. Keep in mind, this is like 2010 or something that they retired. So they invested a lot, retired early, and I used to read all his stuff. He's really well known, probably like the biggest person in that movement. And yeah, he had a really cool chart, that shockingly simple math of early retirement, and it basically just shows, depending on what your savings rate is, how early you can retire just based on normal market returns. And it was like I felt like I had found like the gospel, like I had found the missing piece of life. Like if you just invest 50% of what you make from now till 17 years from now, you should be able to retire. And I thought that was amazing because at the time, like people in my family, there are a couple of people in my family that had something pretty devastating happen, and what they thought was going to be their retirement went away. And then, yeah, because of that, I was always like very careful about money, or like maybe scared about money in general. So being able to retire much earlier and having some kind of certainty and some kind of game plan really intrigued me. So then I was just listening to podcasts 24/7, like to and from work on my lunch break. And like at home, Graham Stephan, I've heard about him like in 2019 maybe, and watched every one of his videos. So yeah, I like just dove in 100% at that point. But that
Yeah.
was, yeah, after college basically.
Wow. Wow. And I think that really stands out to me because again, so many people these days you hear about who hit millionaire status and even beyond in their 20s. they started so early. So for you to say like
Mhm.
you went through high school, you went through college, and then you jumped on and were capable of accomplishing that in such a short time frame, I think it's impressive. And I guess for people who may be in a situation where they're post college, right? So let's give a hypothetical real quick. For someone who just graduated college or is just about to graduate college, do you think that it's too late for them in the modern day to get their start if they do want to start to reach some of these higher levels, say millionaire status in the next 10, 15 years?
No, definitely not. I mean, I actually just had a question about this on my channel. Someone was starting to buy crypto and they said, "Is there any hope for the little guys? Because I don't have much." The fact is, everyone that's ever been a millionaire made their first dollar at some point and made their first 100,000. And everyone that's ever bought 1,000 Bitcoin started with some first buy, and it didn't seem like a lot to them at the time. So yeah, if you're just starting out, I think it always feels like it's tougher than the people had it before you. And some of that just might be like uncertainty because we know like the market's done really well the last 5 years, right? Even though there have been ups and downs, like it's hard to imagine the next 5 years are as good. But that's exactly how I felt in 2018. Like we had been going up for 10 or 9 years in a row. So it felt like there's going to be a big pullback. And then there was like the first 6 months I invested in my 401k, there was like a pretty nasty pullback in 2018. So if you're someone that's like starting out on your journey, I think it's definitely not too late because money printing just continues. So assets are going to go up in value as time goes on. Good assets, and I think the key, like you said there, like a lot of the people that have maybe made $100,000 or 300,000 or a million early on, they a lot of them start investing early, but a lot of them too are just really high earners. Like at the end of the day, if you're 24 and you're making, I don't know, $300,000 a year as a salesman or 200 or whatever, which isn't super realistic, but you can definitely hit those numbers. If you're looking over a short period of time, the thing that matters the most isn't your investment returns, it's income at the end of the day and how much you spend. Because if you make 10% return or 11 or 12, it doesn't matter if one person's making 50,000 and one's making 300,000 or something. So
Sure.
yeah, focus on income because you can hit those numbers. And then like it snowballs really quickly. So if you hit a million by 30 or something, you can be worth 5 or 10 by 40 or something. And then you'll be really wealthy. So
Sure.
yeah, just grind it out.
Absolutely. And that's what it is, right? It's a hustle. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit, okay? And let's start to focus on when you actually started jumping into the world of stocks, sort of crypto. So for those of you who don't know, I actually met Sam 6 years ago. I was 18 at the time, and we met because we were both talking about stocks. We both like stocks. He was interested in stocks, so was I. And that's how we met. So tell me a little bit about your first couple steps into your stock market and crypto investing journey, right? What did that look like? What were some things you looked at? What were some investments you made? What are some things you won on? Some things you lost on? Let's kind of jump into the getting closer to the modern day.
Yeah, so I started buying stocks before I started buying crypto. I started a Roth IRA when I was still in college with $3,000 in it. And I just bought, I think, VOO, like the S&P 500 index fund. Um, I started buying individual stocks during COVID, like the first couple days of COVID, maybe the first couple weeks, because it was like March 5, I want to say, that I started buying individual stocks because some were just going down so substantially. And I thought that they would still do well long term, like Facebook and Amazon. I think I even bought some like real estate stocks that were just getting hammered like 40% in a day, which was obviously a lot riskier. But I started buying individual stocks then, started talking about those on YouTube as opposed to just like retiring early. That's when my channel started to pick up a little bit of steam. And then I didn't start buying crypto until the end of that year, actually the beginning of the next. So like January of 2021. I think Bitcoin was around $30,000. And I started with just Bitcoin. Then I think I bought a little bit of Ethereum. Then the altcoin season happened maybe in March and April, and I started to buy altcoins then. Kind of did the classic, like I bought towards the peak of a lot of those altcoins, but then I continued to buy throughout the rest of the summer, and then we had another blow off top in crypto. I sold a couple things, but I really just stacked throughout the entire next bear market then. Like I've sold very little crypto since I started buying it. Same thing with stocks too. I try not to buy and sell too much because I think you can make really irrational decisions based on emotion. So wherever I try to buy now, I just try to make sure that's something that I'm comfortable holding if it goes down 20, 30, 40%, even in the stocks. I don't really speculate too much. Um, and then like if I want to speculate more, I might use leverage in crypto or something. But yeah, that's kind of how it's morphed over time. But then I started to buy real estate too during the bear market, I suppose, because I found a good deal. And then, since my crypto portfolio kept on growing and I started to invest more in stocks too, I found a couple other real estate deals. And yeah, I bought those too just to kind of balance out since our income is so irregular and since crypto is so volatile. I use that to balance out and get some money, just like steady cash flow, just in case something were to happen to YouTube.
Totally. So it went from stocks, so 401k, individual stocks, crypto, real estate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So what would you say? Okay, two quick questions. What would you say is your favorite of that group? Your favorite like thing that you invest in, and which one do you think has made you the most, either realized or unrealized profits or gains?
What whatever my favorite is probably whatever's going up at the time. Like it sounds stupid, but like I realize that that's a problem I have. Like we were joking about the other day, like one of my rental properties, I was like, this one's giving me problems and I just want to get rid of it. But I'm not going to, but I want to. And like I noticed myself getting interested in stocks or crypto or something when there's more volatility, I should say. Not even just when it goes up a lot. Like in April, I stopped watching a lot of crypto content and I was really watching a lot of stock content because I know that I had to grow my stock portfolio more, even though I think it will underperform crypto. I was like, I need to throw more money into this sector in general because it was so underweighted for my portfolio. And yeah, I was watching like maybe 2 hours of other people talk about stocks and doing research every day. So I think that my attention moves over time. Like with crypto moving up now, I'll probably pay more attention, which I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because I'm not just throwing money at whatever's going up. I'm paying attention to whatever's going up or going down the most, which I think is actually good because like I don't want to watch 5 minutes or read 5 minutes of crypto content when we're hitting new all-time highs. Like I need to know what's happening to know if I need to like take profits or something. So what's made me the most is definitely crypto. Um, Real estate, I just haven't bought long enough. I think I've I've made like 50% on a couple properties or one property, the one that I was actually talking about selling the other day, because I bought it undervalued. And but it's smaller than what I have in crypto. So yeah, I've been able to make good returns from that, but not like crypto because I was buying throughout the entire bear market. And I didn't buy the most at the bottom actually because my income scaled a lot at the beginning of the bull market. So I probably bought the most around 30 to $50,000 Bitcoin just because my income was scaling and I still wanted to allocate towards crypto. But that's 140% up on all my Bitcoin. I don't think I bought any since like 60,000 or something like that, maybe. Um, the
That's
majority was at 50. But yeah.
yeah.
And then stocks have done well too, but I've just continuously put more into stocks as time's gone on. So there might be a couple positions I had a couple 100% gains on, but those I had put so much less into it because it's maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
Sure. No, that makes a ton of sense. And I find it really interesting that you touched on how your attention can shift from thing to thing. But it seems interesting to me because I know you and knowing you, you're still very like well educated in each thing. So like real estate, stocks, or crypto, you know a lot about each one. But it's interesting how you can shift from thing to thing, I guess, where your attention is the most needed. Because our energy input there's an ROI to that, right? Like whatever we're putting our
Mhm.
attention and our energy into, there's a return we're going to get from doing that. And I think that's something people could get a lot from because I know so many people who invest in the stocks and real estate, but they only ever pay attention to one and just leave the other one alone completely. And although that's
Yeah.
probably good for them mentally, there is probably still something to like still make sure you're aware of the things you're investing into and the markets that you're in because just like
Yeah.
that, things can shift almost out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you just need to spend enough time on it. So that way, if the market goes down, you know whether to buy more or to sell, like to cut your losses. And usually the answer is not to cut your losses, but that's if you're in like broad market index funds or something like that. But if you're like in, I don't know, the 87th largest crypto in the world and that's like half of your portfolio, like there's definitely a time to get out of that probably. So you might need to change your attention. But yeah, a lot of it comes down to what you're invested into. I think if you're invested all into index funds, like you probably don't even have to watch any content on YouTube. If you're not trying to outperform the market and you're just like blindly throwing money, then you can probably get a better ROI from just like doing other stuff, because there's no point listening to individual stock content or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's important if you're going to invest in specific things to pay attention to them.
Sure. So let's kind of, before we start jumping into, there's a segment I want to do where we talk more about like your own personal insights and advice for the people watching the show, right? But before we get into that, one thing I'm really curious on that people don't ever get to really talk about is your experience as a creator. So for those of you who don't know, Sam's had a YouTube channel for, I believe, 6 or 7 years now, over 300,000 subscribers, millions of views across the channel. I've walked around Bitcoin conferences with this guy and everyone knows who he is. And so I'm curious about that perspective from you. Like, in general, what is it like going from being just an investor in this market to being someone who's creating content in this market? How does it change your perspective on it? Do you feel like it's a good thing? It's a bad thing? Tell us a little bit about your journey and your perspective as a creator specifically.
I think it can be good and bad. I think it depends on your temperament, because we both know people that have like, sorry, my voice is giving out from the videos I shot this morning. We've both known people that just like couldn't handle the criticism, and it can kind of destroy you, because when there are a lot of people in the market and new people coming into the market, maybe they don't have context as to like what you're trying to do. So you end up like, I feel like as we go further into the bull market, I have to give like 4 or 5 minutes of disclaimers like every video. So it's like it's a little bit annoying, because if you don't give those, then people are like, oh, he's buying Bitcoin because he's bullish on Bitcoin, so I'm going to buy all the Bitcoin that I can buy. And then we fall down, then they panic sell, and then they yell at you. So that side's difficult, but it is a great feeling to be right. Obviously, like I think we all like that. So to be able to point to that over time, like, hey, I've been saying for years that I think Bitcoin's something that's good to buy, and will probably give you good returns. And it's been one of the best things to buy. So having that like on your track record, I think can be really good. And like helping people just in general, less people watch during the bear market, but everyone that needed that extra, like, hey, now is not a bad time to buy. Think about this and this and this. I think you do generally help people, but like, yeah, it can be very taxing mentally. Physically, it's obviously really easy, like compared to previous jobs that we both had. Like this is a cakewalk, and like it's a really good job on paper, but it can be really difficult mentally. So it is important to go touch grass and to talk to other people. I think in the space, like you have Fluence. I think it's great to be part of something like that, so that way you can connect with other people that are feeling the same feelings. And like if you feel it, we felt it before, I'm sure, wherever you're feeling. So having someone help you through that or talk you through it, or just being able to complain like you would if you were in person at a job and like one of your coworkers said something stupid to you, I think is important. So yeah, it's been great. It's been humbling. It's been fun, but yeah, it can be tiring. I get why some people are like, I just want to wait through the bull run and then I'm out completely. But
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be one of those people. I like filming videos and, covering news and stuff like that.
Definitely. No, it makes a lot of sense. And it's something people don't talk about a lot. I think as creators, we're in a bit of a privileged position to where we can make money from home and we have full creative authority over everything we do. But there are negatives to it, right? It can be a bit of a lonely profession. You typically are alone by yourself doing things. And like you said,
Yeah.
criticism and stuff can stack up over time. And over the last 6 years, I'm sure you've kind of seen everything. And I guess my question is, has there been anything that you've done as a creator that's made the biggest impact on your journey, right? Is it just the fact that you wake up every single day and you just post videos? Is it just consistency? Is it the extra research that goes into it? Like, what would you say is the thing that's made you not only succeed, but find sustainability, especially in a market like crypto, which is so volatile and so variable
Yeah.
and honestly hard to deal with sometimes?
Yeah. I think trying not to get too greedy or too fearful in investing has helped a lot. So I'm not like pumping up altcoins the entire bull run, like you have to buy this because it's going to 100x or something, like just lying to people. So being truthful and then just posting consistently, I think is so important, because so many people will take a day off and then it turns into 2 or 3 or 4. Like it's just part of my routine on Saturdays and Sundays. Like my wife knows I shoot at least one video And that's just how it is. Like I might do it at different times depending on what we're doing, but every day I'm shooting a video no matter what. And I like it. Like if you don't like this, then you probably won't be able to do that. I think it's easier too because we post every day. That's really easy to get into a rhythm as opposed to like if you shot once a week and then you have to edit and you don't really like editing, or like you have to send it off to an editor or something and then just sit around, and then it's like easier to not get a rhythm. But yeah, just every day posting a video and doing the same thing. I'm not ever worried about work. Like I'm not doing anything that makes me stressed out, or I'm not nervous to sit in front of a camera or anything like that. So I think that has helped a lot.
Yeah. Do you think that being a crypto creator has allowed you to be a better investor? Because whenever I think about it, right, whenever we make content, we're actively finding something to talk about every day. And so I feel like because of that, we stay so much more tapped in and we see what's happening and we see the news and we hear what people are saying. We have our own comment section communities that we can view. So do you think that has given you an advantage in some capacity being a creator as a crypto investor?
I think it keeps you to a higher standard where you can't just turn on a dime and say, well, like this crypto isn't moving anymore, so I'm just gonna sell it. Like I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm gonna buy the other thing. Like especially early on, I felt that urge. Like this stock that I bought hasn't moved in 2 months, but this one's moving a lot, and I see what they're trying to do there, and I think they're gonna continue to do well. Um, and I think over time too, you realize like you can't talk about 40 different cryptos or something like that. So I think a lot of people early on in investing like see something that they like and then they go buy it and they buy $200, and then like something else pops up and they buy that and they buy $200. So they end up like I think at one point I had like 70 different holdings, which is just like way too much. It's stupid. But like as a creator, you really can only talk about maybe 4 or 5 different things consistently. And honestly, you can get great returns if you just buy the same 4 or 5 things at opportune times. Like I could buy Amazon, Google, Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and real estate, and I don't have to buy anything else. I don't have to know about any other asset. And I can just buy them when they're at good values, and that's it. And I think it's a lot less work than trying to pick the next hot stock all the time and stuff like that. So being held to a higher standard, I think, and like staying focused, because people will call you out if you're like, I'm selling all my Bitcoin and today I'm buying all my Bitcoin back. And then like back and forth, people will call you out on that. So um, I think that has been beneficial.
Yeah. And I honestly think it is a good thing. And it's such an interesting thought because I like how you worded it. You said it holds you to a higher standard. But the truth is, I believe when people are investing in general, they should hold that standard for themselves. So it's almost like that extra accountability that we need because it's so easy to just jump from thing to thing to thing. But the truth is, when you're jumping thing to thing to thing to thing, you lack conviction, and without real conviction it's actually going to be pretty hard to generate returns, right? And I find that to be a super interesting point. And kind of while we're talking about just general principles when it comes to investing, I guess
Mhm.
as someone like yourself who has millions of dollars in stocks and crypto and real estate, what have been some of the things that you've learned along the way over, let's say, the last 6 years, 5 years, 6 years? What have been, say, 2 or 3 of the lessons that you think have made the biggest impact on your investing journey?
Yeah. So I think first of all, understanding how taxes work is pretty big. Because otherwise you could be like, oh, I'm gonna buy Palantir and then I'm gonna sell it because it's gone up a lot. And then I'm gonna buy some Tesla and then it's gone down. Then I'm gonna sell it when it goes back up. And like you can just move around. And if you don't know how taxes work, like you could just be wash trading like back and forth, or like you could, you could have it in a Roth IRA or something that could save you a lot of money at the end of the year or something. So just understanding, I guess, personal finance is probably what I should have said, but personal finance in general is so huge because you can try to invest, but if you have a 25% credit card loan and a 14% student loan, like just don't invest. Like just work more to pay those off. It doesn't matter if you get 30% Bitcoin, don't do that. Like go pay off your credit card because it's not worth it. You'll come out way ahead if you just pay off that stuff. So like personal finance is huge, and that's something that I knew really well before coming into individual investing. Um, Investing over time, I think, is huge. You're never going to time the bottom. You're never going to time the top. Don't try to just buy. That's what I said to the person that had a small stack of Bitcoin and they're wondering if there's anything like they can do. Like I told them, don't even try to get out this cycle. Don't try to like time the top. Just plan on having to buy for the next 4 years and make money next cycle. So that way you're not trying to time in and out of the market, because then inevitably it'll like sell at $140,000 Bitcoin and it'll go up to like 170, and you'll buy back in, and then it'll fall down, and then you'll sell it, and then you just won't get back in. And then you'll end up losing like 40% in a market where you should have made money. So investing over the long term, I think, is really important. And then you can get better returns if you just buy Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean you should just buy Bitcoin. Like, I realized even in the bear market that I could have probably made a much better return on Bitcoin. Like, the risk adjusted reward was much better, but I was still buying stocks because it's much easier to hold something that's very volatile that could go up a lot if you have other assets too. Like, I could have made probably 3 times as much if I just bought Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, like, who says I could have held on to it, right? If we had fallen from 20,000 back down to 12,000 or something, would I have freaked out? I don't think so. But like, for most people, that can be really devastating. And even if it was fine for me, like if my wife saw it and then was like wondering, and then she was super stressed, like, is it worth it at the end of the day? Maybe not. And it's different for everyone's situation. So I think having real estate, having stocks, and having crypto makes you much more likely to hold your crypto.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes a ton of sense. And I think it's something that people don't really focus on enough. So I'm really glad you said that, especially the part about taxes, especially in the
Mhm.
world of crypto, because I think you and I see it a ton, especially in our own communities. And we have little communities of, newer investors and stuff. And we tell them, like, hey, taxes are real and you're going to have to deal with them at
Yeah.
some point. So don't pretend like
Yeah.
they're not, right? And that's a bit of a surprise that jumps on everyone of all experiences, beginners, intermediates, even advanced people. They forget about it sometimes. And speaking
Yeah.
of beginners, intermediates, advanced, one thing that I'm curious of from your perspective is, oftentimes you'll hear people interview you or whoever, and they'll say, okay, if I'm new to crypto, what's a piece of advice? But I'm more curious, what's one piece of advice that you would give a crypto investor of any experience level? So, what's one thing that maybe you've been told, that you've heard, that you've even thought of that you think would add value to anyone at any point in their crypto journey?
Mm, good question. Not to plug my own stuff again, but like in my Telegram, I did one like top 10 questions of new crypto investors, and that I segmented out more. But something that you could tell anyone, I'd say it's important to know what you're willing to hold throughout bear markets and separate that from what you're willing to hold through bull markets. Because then you can
Mm,
kind of tell, what do I actually really want to hold? And then what is just speculation? So, like, for me, the only thing I want to hold through bear markets is Bitcoin. I just have a feeling that it will be around forever, or maybe not forever, but at least my lifetime. And every other asset, I feel like could try to get second place, right? Ethereum maybe is passed by Solana, maybe Ethereum falls off. Obviously, everyone's bullish on Ethereum right now, but like, I don't feel confident on any of that other stuff compared to Bitcoin. I'd rather have cash or VOO or real estate than like an altcoin through a bear market. Um, Again, Bitcoin, I'm more willing to, because I think there's a higher chance that maybe we don't see as much of a bear market for Bitcoin with all the institutions coming in. So, like, know what you're gambling on, and then know what you actually want to hold. Some people might say, I don't want to hold anything through a bear market, and that's great. It might be hard to do that unless you're willing to just sell out of all Bitcoin and have no exposure to crypto and just risk never having exposure, because we might go up on Bitcoin. Um, but I think for enough people that have studied Bitcoin for a long time, they want to hold Bitcoin or some piece of Bitcoin. But I don't think the same thing is the case for Ethereum. I don't hear a lot of people saying, well, I always want to hold 50 ETH. Like people say, oh, I always want to hold 1 Bitcoin or, 0.2 Bitcoin or whatever it is. So know that, and just like, right, take profits early on your speculative bag. Like, don't try to time the top, because you won't do it. Like, it's better to sell early than not to sell.
sure. And it really seems like it comes back down to conviction. And I know that's something that we talked about previously, but it's like, where's your real conviction at? Because there's a difference between being speculatively confident and truly convicted on something. And yours is Bitcoin. And I think it's clear as day. Like, you truly have utmost conviction when it comes to Bitcoin that you don't actually have when it comes to even Ethereum or XRP or Sui Solana. And if you can early on identify where your true conviction is versus what speculative confidence, it'll probably put you in a position to where you can outperform your own investment portfolio by being able and willing to make those shifts where needed. And it's an interesting thought. And I've honestly not done that in my own. I just have my bags of cryptos I like. I have my bags of ones I kind of like. And that's just that. And so that's
Yeah.
super interesting. So
Can I
look,
jump on that for 1 second?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you're talking about like different cryptos outside of Bitcoin. Like you look at the other four largest cryptos and all of them, like just their price action makes me convinced that they're not the same class as Bitcoin. Like Ethereum just started a rally. It from the bottom of the bear market to where it was in April, it had gone up 50%. So like 3 years, it moved up 50% when Bitcoin did a 6x. So Bitcoin went from 16 to 74 at the bottom in April, and Ethereum went from 900 to 1400. So like it did nothing for years, and everyone thought it's dead. So bearish, like it was bearish for a very long time. XRP was at 50 cents for multiple years with a couple small pumps, and then just came right back down. Solana went from 300 down to $9 or something, 250 to $9. BNB, like people were thinking it was going to blow up at the end of the last bull run. So like all those other things compared to Bitcoin, where I just had a good feeling it was going to stay around, along with the fact that it's the most decentralized, most like more people have it, they're billionaires buying it, there are more institutions in it. Those other cryptos, like I just don't want to hold something that goes down 92% or 99% or something in a bear market. Plus, I know Bitcoin's going to outperform all those in a bear market, most likely, anyways, because a lot of people don't want to hold altcoins. So, yeah, that again, I'm willing to hold Bitcoin because I know that I'll buy more Bitcoin if I hold it. It's really hard if you get completely out of an asset and that starts to rally and you actually want to hold it. It's hard to like play that game of trying to get back in at the right time and not just get taken because of emotion.
Absolutely. So it's actually funny that we spun into this part of the conversation because the next question is the juicy question. It's the question that I like to ask everyone who comes on the show. And I have it for you. If you could only invest into one crypto for the next 10 years, but it couldn't be Bitcoin nor Ethereum, what would your choice be?
Oh, that's a good question. Hmm. Do I have my other assets or just crypto?
Let's do crypto. Let's stick to it.
I'd probably say Solana. I think it's hard to tell. I mean, Binance is so big. I wouldn't be surprised if they are still around in 10 years. But with regulation, I don't know what's going to happen there. Or if the Trumps decide to make an exchange and then just outlaw all foreign exchanges or something like that or sue them. I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, I'm not going to buy a meme coin. I could see XRP doing really well um, as well, but I feel like there's more usage of Solana at this point, and yeah, I guess it would be XRP or Solana, but I feel a little bit more comfortable with Solana. I've been investing in it longer and understand it better.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's going to
Yeah.
be the choice most people have. I guess just because it's one of the ones that have survived, right? And I think there's something to
Mhm.
that. Like it's been through the bad of the bad of the bad. So
Yeah. It's
it's
been as bad as it can get.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, look, so that's all my questions for you today, man. Look, I know we're gonna have to do a lot more. I would really like to bring you back onto the show at some point and even talk more about the YouTube side of things because I know that's super interesting for a lot of people. But I really wanted to just focus this episode in this show for those of you watching on getting the perspective and insights of someone like Sam who's been on both sides of the coin, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And so, Sam, I really do appreciate you coming on, man. And plug all your socials. Feel free to let them know where they can watch more content from you, follow you, message you, show up to your house, whatever your address is. Feel free to give it to them. And yeah, we'll go ahead
Yeah.
and wrap this up.
Yeah. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me on. I have a channel, My Financial Friend. And yeah, I have everything else too, but I don't really post on anything else. I guess I post on Twitter every once in a while or X, but you don't have to follow me there. Go check out my YouTube channel, My Financial Friend, follow there. And yeah, I'll tell you everything else you need to know in a YouTube video. I'm sure I'll plug all my other socials or something, but yeah, appreciate it, Tyler.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining on. And everybody, thank you for tuning in. We are going to have a huge lineup of guests coming out very soon. So feel free to check out all our socials down below. If you follow the Fluent's Twitter account, you can start to see some of the different clips from this episode, but also the schedule we have coming up next for creators that you can expect to see here on the channel. So thank you all for joining into the very, very first beginning episodes of this here show. We really do appreciate you all. We can't wait to see you all in the next one. See you, everybody.